It's Friday, January 19th, 2024. I'm hiking up from Skyu Onsen Ryokan, located just south of the Hakkoda ski area. And today, I'm going to see the famous snow monsters of Hakkoda. As you can see, this is a popular route, and a number of skiers and snowshoers have already passed through, leaving a hard-packed trail through the snow. I'm in snowshoes today, and it's easy going. This route is just under 8 kilometers round trip, with an elevation gain of about 700 meters. It's pretty casual on days like today, but when there's strong wind and poor visibility, and of course no trail through the snow, it would be very ill-advised to attempt. But the conditions today are not bad at all. Since we're here, let me tell you the story of the Mount Hakkoda Disaster. On January 23, 1902, 210 soldiers from the 5th Infantry Regiment set out from their barracks in Aomori, hiking towards Tashiro Hot Springs, where they intended to camp overnight and then return the next day. This military exercise was intended to prepare them for the harsh winter conditions in the upcoming conflict with Russia. Though the skies were clear when they left, a low-pressure front brought dropping temperatures and blizzard conditions soon after. There was some debate around turning back, but they decided to press onwards despite not having brought any local guides with them, and navigating solely based on map and compass. Conditions continued to worsen, and they realized they were not going to make it to the hot springs that night. They established a makeshift camp at 8:15 p.m., digging trenches in the snow and trying to start cooking fires. The wind and snow made all this nearly impossible. Temperatures dropped below -20 degrees. By 2 a.m., officers decided that the soldiers were getting frostbite and they should return to the barracks, so they broke camp at 2:30 a.m. that night. But now they were completely lost. Trying to return, they first strayed into a gorge and ended up having to return to their makeshift campsite. Some tried to climb up a really steep slope, nearly a cliff, and it was at this point that a few of them started collapsing from cold and exertion. They ended up splitting to smaller groups as increasingly desperate men tried to escape from the mountains. More and more of them began to succumb to the elements. This went on and on. It wasn't until the 5th day since their initial departure that Corporal Goto, standing upright in place, partially buried in snow, was discovered by one of the rescue teams that had come looking for them. He's said to have been completely immobile, except for his eyes, which moved about wildly. They were able to revive him, and he was one of only 11 survivors of the original 210, though his arms and legs all had to be amputated from the extreme frostbite. Of the original 210 soldiers, there were 17 survivors, though another 6 succumbed in hospital in the coming months. Only 11 ended up living, and 8 of those had to have some or all of their limbs amputated. This would be classified as the world's worst mountaineering disaster, except that it's classified as a military disaster, but it will never be forgotten in Japan. I've been hiking Hakkoda a few times every year since around 2018, and while I'd heard of this disaster, I didn't realize until recently that many people still consider the entire area to be haunted with the ghosts of those lost soldiers. Apparently, there are numerous stories of people hearing marching men, military songs being heard in the distance, and even calls for help. It does exist in the public imagination as a haunted place. But for us hikers, it is just a place of extreme glory and beauty. When I'm up here, I can't help but have a big smile on my face, regardless of past tragedies more than 120 years ago. It's just so beautiful.
Konnichiwa. 今日はどちらまで？おだけ？ こんにちは。地元？いいね、いいね。遠く盛岡から来てます。はい。いつも函館に登ってますか？
初めてです。去年森吉行って、
あ
函館の冬は初めて。
あ、森吉いいね。
Of course, it is important to realize with all winter mountains that you've got to come only when the conditions are really good and have all the safety gear you need. Any mountain, especially during the colder months, can turn deadly, and it's important to never forget that. Still, with a little preparation, going with a group, I think it's a great idea to enjoy the winter mountains up here. I love the textures that you see in the snow on the trees and signs up this high. In Japanese, they're called ebi no shippo, or shrimp tails. I can definitely see that. But they almost look feathery to me as well. Getting close to the summit now. And here we are, Odake. At 1,585 meters, it is the highest point in the Hakkoda Mountains. Heading back down now. Clouds give everything this ethereal feel. Love, love, love it.
Iや、そこまで強くない。
あ、そう。
何も見えなかったけど。
Down a little bit lower and the sky's cleared up. Well, I'm going to put the camera away for the rest of the ascent, but let me show you some views from the sky before you go. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the trails.